This is the time in our service when we come apart for just a moment in quiet meditation, prayer, contemplation. So I invite you to take just a moment to take a deep breath, center yourself where you are. Close your eyes if it's comfortable to you. And just begin to find the rhythm of your breath for just a few moments. Let us sit in prayer, in meditation, in listening and allowing. Another deep breath. And as we breathe into the fullness of this space and time, we can allow that inner chatter to slow down, to be less busy, less demanding. These inner voices that are not the renewing life of spirit. Rather, they are the demands of the outer circumstances. They are the things that drain us of our enthusiasm, rob us of the beauty of this and all holy moments. Take one more centering breath and allow the whole of you to be present. You do this by letting go of all the resistance and all the thought that would keep you from this now moment. When the whole of us is present, there's clarity, love, beauty, awe, spirit, always there, ready to meet us, ready to receive us unconditionally and absolutely. And with each breath is our choice to let go, to surrender, where we become one and commune with our source, that which is divine love. Let us center our hearts in that Christ presence, feel that love that sustains us, upholds us, fills us. Breathing quietly and deeply into this quiet time, let us deepen our awareness of our oneness, of our love, of our letting it go and letting it be in the silence. And with our hearts centered and our awareness deepened, let us vow to allow it full access to flow in and through us today, nurturing us, renewing us. And as the prayers and the intentions continue to resonate, let's hold on to that feeling of oneness. This is the oneness of the power and the presence of all that is good. Let us return now to this holy moment, to this holy place, and with deep gratitude, let us say thank you, God. Amen and amen. Well, I want to say thank you for having me back. It's always good to be with you. I'll remind you, I'm your neighbor to the north. I'm in Oklahoma. And October 1st usually represents fall and cooler temps. But today we are sitting at 95, 96 degrees, and it's hot. It's an interesting thing as we think about the seasons in our life and what we think they should look like, what we think a season in our life should feel like. And then sometimes we're surprised. I want to tell you a story as we get started this morning. And it's a story that many of you have heard, but I want you to hear it with new ears. It's about a man who was walking along a very steep cliff one day, and he accidentally got a little too close to the edge, and he fell. And on his way down, he grabbed hold of a branch, a root of a tree, and that stopped his fall. And he looked down, and to his horror, he saw this canyon below him, straight down, thousands of feet. And he knew in that moment he couldn't hold on to that branch forever. There was no way for him to climb back up. And so he, of course, did what any of us would do. He began to yell for help. And he was just hoping that someone up above would hear him and lower a rope or find a way to get him out of this mess. And so he yelled, "Help, help, is anyone up there?" And he yelled for a long time. No one was hearing him. He was getting more and more scared, and he was just about to give up when he heard a voice, and it said, "I'm here." And he yelled and yelled, "Thank you for showing up. Please help me." And the voice said, "I can see you." And he said, "Please, won't you help me? Tell me who you are. Where are you?" And that voice said, "I'm God. I am everywhere." And the man said, "God, do you mean the Lord?" "That's me." He said, "God, please help me. I'm about to fall." And the God of his understanding in that moment said, "You trust me, right? Listen carefully. I'll tell you what to do." And the man said, "Oh, of course, I trust you, God. I'll do anything. Just tell me what to do." And God said, "Let go of the branch." And the man said, "What? Are you kidding?" And God said, "You trust me, right? Let go of the branch." And there was a long pause, a long silence. And the man, by this time, his hands and his arms were burning. And in that silent moment, he finally yelled out, "Help, help, is anyone else up there?" It's a funny story, and it's kind of true for us, isn't it? You know, I think one of the most useful spiritual practices that we can embrace is the act of letting go. And really, it might be an art. Letting go is what asks us to trust that everything that is happening is for us, not against us. It's not happening to us, it's happening for our highest good. And letting go also asks of us to live in a certain way, to take certain steps, regardless of who's doing what to us, in spite of any current situation in our life, whether that be financial, a health experience, whatever it is. How we let go is the clearest and the most obvious indication of where we are on our spiritual path. And one of the major reasons that we resist letting go is that we trust our limited perceptions, our conditioned mind, much more than we would ever trust the immanent and transcendent mystery of that which many of us call God. To the extent that we can let go during a challenge, whether it be with your health or in your relationships or anything at all, to that same extent, do we really trust the universe? Anything else is just kind of a fib that we tell ourselves, and we mask our faith. Another obvious reason that we don't let go is that our society teaches us exactly the opposite. Even if we mentally agree with the great spiritual practice and law that says what is, we have been carefully trained to be very suspicious, of our intuition, to be suspicious of our inner spiritual guidance and emotional response. We often take that view in order to care about something or someone, but we're just asserting then our will, our hope, our desire. We may tell ourselves that God is the ultimate answer to any and every problem, but just with our own challenges, our actions often prove that our trust is based in our solution rather than Spirit's. So even though we talk about and sing about letting go and letting God, most of the time our actions prove that we really believe we know a better solution to our troubles than divine intelligence knows. I'll remind you of a famous prayer that ends with, "Let thy will be done." And of course, much of our difficulty in letting go and letting God is fear. Just like that man who was hanging there. What would it be like, I wonder, on this planet if we could spend just one day, if everyone just let go of their fear-based thinking and consciously let Spirit work in our lives? What would that look like? Would the world go to hell in a handbasket? Would everyone be out to get you, to take advantage of you or others? You know, the work like this means that we are getting insight into the greater reason of letting go. And we know it's difficult. But when we really let go, what that means for us in our human capacity is that we are giving up control. For most of us, giving up, or heaven forbid, losing control is the ultimate disadvantage, the ultimate loss of power. I mean, it's one thing for us to give up control of other people's lives and get out of their business, but it's really hard for us to understand that we give up control of our own life, of our own attachments. We want to understand so much how things will work out in our lives, when they will work out, who will help in the working out. But where's the trust in that? You know, when we talk in the Buddhist traditions about attachment, then we have to also look at what non-attachment really is. The Buddhist philosophy understands that non-attachment is our ability to let go of the need to fix something, to change someone, to control an outer circumstance or experience. I mean, that sounds easy enough. But when we are attached to whatever that is, the outcome, or even how we should reach those outcomes, that's what blocks the flow that opens the door to a world of possibility. Non-attachment is what sets our imagination free to soar, to remove those resistant blocks. Non-attachment, or letting go, really means saying yes to change. You know, in our humanness, we have practiced a tendency of holding on. And we do it because we associate holding on with a feeling of being safe, of being strong, of being tough, of being wise. And it's interesting because we hold on to a lot of things, a lot of stuff from our past. We hold on to relationships, to old, silly beliefs. I mean, don't you right now have a junk drawer somewhere in your house full of things that you have not let go of? 90% of you have that junk drawer in your kitchen, just like I do, full of things that I've not let go of. And why? Because I might need it. I will keep it just in case. Just in case. Just in case. Where is the trust in just in case? To what degree are we trusting if we're also practicing holding on just in case? Just in case I need it. Just in case I can't afford it later. Just in case somebody else wants it. The great poet Rumi once said that life is a balance of holding on and letting go. And we know that the key of life is balance. But there is an illusion about control that we hold in our human tendency. It's not that we are letting go of a person or a place or a thing. What we're really letting go of is our holding on to the belief about that person, that situation, that circumstance. We're letting go of holding on to our control. The question is, can we let go and live out of grace, or must we hold on out of fear? I will tell you that I have done a lot around letting go. I worked, many of you know, for most of my career in hospice and palliative care. Letting go was a conversation I had with people every single day. To not just let go of something silly, but to let go of a life force so that they may move in to the next season of their eternal existence. And when I think about that concept of letting go, I have to think about how we often don't let go, how we struggle through that. It's because we've aligned instead with an illusion that is holding us rather than we holding it. It's the illusion of control that creates the delusion that we have possession of something or someone, that we grasp it really tightly. You know, I think one of the reasons we are so fearful about letting go and letting go of our control is that we know that we will feel a little empty because it's become such a big part of our life. Let me demonstrate. I have a green pen. Let this pen represent to you anything that you think you're holding on to. Might be a relationship, might be a past belief that just doesn't serve you, might be stuff in your house. And when we are holding on to something, again, we grasp it so tightly that somebody would have to come by and, pry our fingers open to get it out, because that's control. And we fear that if we lose it, if we let it go, then what happens? When we let it go, we feel cheated. We feel abandoned. We feel more in despair. We feel like we are now grasping for whatever is next and we can't find it. But there's a different, better, easier, more gentle way to let go of things. And that is to see this same person, thing, situation, circumstance in your life and how much you are grasping at it, holding on to it. What would it be like to let it go and trust? I don't think it would look much like this, and then to drop it and feel abandoned. What if we hold it and began to let it go differently? To let it go and reside with me. And notice that when I do this, there's now space for other things to come. There's now space that I can trust. And when that space finally gets taken up with all the manifestations that I've been blocking, this thing, person, place, circumstance has to get out of the way organically. One of our 12 spiritual powers is that power of elimination. It's represented in the month of October. And the spiritual power of elimination is our ability to release or remove or denounce or to let go. And we understand that in October, especially usually when the leaves are falling. We can look out our window and have the greatest master teacher in a tree and a leaf, to watch the leaf fall without fear, to watch the leaf fall and trust that there is the next cycle of its life and it will return. I put myself through part of college modeling, and I didn't know anything about it. And about a year in, I thought I knew everything about it. And then a particular photographer who was shooting me one day said, "You're sucking in when I take your picture." And he said, "Actually, you want to breathe out when you take a picture because everything's more relaxed. Your face, your smile, all of that is more relaxed and more natural." No one had ever told me that. I had gone through all of that year modeling for different places and photographers, and no one had shared that with me. And since that moment, I understand it more in meditation, in those times when we can take a deep breath, feel the tension, to let it go and let it out. Because holding on is what actually blocks our happiness, our success, everything we want. But letting go is what liberates and frees us to move forward. Thich Nhat Hanh once said, "The first step to happiness is letting go." And I can remember during the pandemic when I was home so much, and I got to watch Marie Kondo's great virtual experience about letting go. And she would ask a question on her show or in her book to pick something up and just ask, does this spark joy? Does it feed my soul? Does it have value and benefit for my spirit? I notice that we clean things physically all the time. We take the trash out, we vacuum, we throw things away that we've outgrown or that we don't use. But how often are we cleaning out or clearing out our mind? In metaphysics, we understand that the disciple Thaddeus is the representation of that spiritual power of elimination. And it's because he represents the expulsion of negative thinking, to let go of what's not serving me in my belief system. And there's that part of letting go of the stuff that isn't what we might deem mistakes or even label as bad. Rather, it's simply that we understand it's no longer serving us. In that kitchen junk drawer of mine, I know I have a cord to a phone that I do not own anymore. Matter of fact, no one on the planet owns it. It's destroyed. but I will keep that cord just in case, right? Because it's been part of the journey. And sometimes that's why we keep things based on sentimental value. But isn't it true that we want to move around with less stuff, less burden, less anxiety, less worry, less fear? We've all had those things, whether they be material things like the furniture or the clothes in the closet, or the bigger things like the relationships, like the financial stress, whatever it is. And maybe it is a time and a season to think about letting go. It's been said that 90% of our thoughts that we think every day are really just a rehash of the thoughts we had yesterday. That they are the same ones that we've thought about multiple times last month, last year. And we are told in scripture that we must renew our mind, that we need to rethink our thoughts, to empty out the old ones that no longer serve and replace them with the infilling of a more natural knowing. Our co-founder in Unity, Charles Fillmore, wrote in the Revealing Word his definition of letting go. And this is what he defined. Letting go is erasing from consciousness all thoughts contrary to truth. Erasing from consciousness all thoughts contrary to truth. We know to do this, we have to think about our fourth unity principle, that of affirmations and denials. And Charles Fillmore also wrote this. It is just as necessary that one should let go of thoughts, conditions, and substances in consciousness, body, and affairs when they have served their purpose and we no longer need them. It's just as important that we also lay hold of new ideas, new substances to meet our daily requirement. And he goes on to say, therefore, it's very necessary for that eliminative faculty to be quickened and for a right balance to be found between receiving and giving, laying hold and letting go. Our other Unity co-founder, Myrtle Fillmore, I think might have said it a little easier. She said, surely it is not wisdom and good judgment to keep at a thing year after year when we know it brings no appreciable return. It doesn't cause the soul to grow. It doesn't expand or radiate through the body. Sometimes we get in a rut and we need change because we first have to change our viewpoint. I think it's no wonder that we don't want to let go of people and places and things when our idea of God is so small, not trusted. Just like that man who was hanging off the cliff. He wanted someone else in that moment because he didn't like the answer. And so instead of embracing a bigger or more miraculous God, we end up facing life in control and yet all alone. There is a fine art that lies in the mingling of letting go and holding on. And if there's an area in our life where we feel stuck, where the flow isn't flowing and where we feel paralyzed with no movement, then I think the most important question we can ask is, what's holding me here? What is it that weighs me down that I can't move? What am I attached to? Am I holding on to a grudge? Am I holding on to something that isn't healthy, a bad habit, an addiction? Am I holding on to something that just once served for a season, but no longer serves the next? Because the greatest key to letting go is trust. Just like God asked the man, do you trust me? And he said yes. But do we trust that if we let go, everything will be okay? I mean, we say a prayer and we sing a song every Sunday that says, all is well. Do we trust that if we let go, something greater can and will come into its place? Do we trust the peace that we sing about and talk about? Do we trust the feeling of freedom? Not of your worthiness, but of your self-worth. I think Lao Tzu perhaps said it best when he said, when I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. What do you need to let go of today? I have a whole list of things, trust me. But what is it that you're holding on to that's just not serving you? And are you willing to release it? What if, beginning today, even in this moment, we could let go of what's no longer serving us so that we can live into that greater expression of our highest and best? What if we began to see the circumstances and the situations in our midst, not from a place of fear, but rather a place of understanding that what is, and what shall be still lives in the imagination and can come? What if the challenges of today bring us into contact with the person or persons who encourage us and support us in giving way to that new place, to that love that's beyond our belief now? What if we began to see this life not as a problem to be solved, but as a mystery to be lived? I understand that letting go sounds simple, but it's not easy. Every single day, every single minute that we're on this planet, we are presented with those experiences and opportunities, these people, the challenges, and every one of them holds a glittering diamond of possibility in the area of letting go and letting God, of releasing and letting love. And every challenge is in our midst for us and not against us. The challenge is actually for us to live up to our highest and best, to the highest potential, to release our fears and our inhibitions, and to live as the divine expression of spirit. I took my sermon title this morning from a Zen proverb that says, "Let go or be dragged." Can't you see that visual right now? Very simply put, to know the truth is to let go of untruth. And when you surrender every untruth, when you surrender every aspect of lack, every limiting thought or belief, every past mistake, every judgment, every assumption, every limiting thought that serves you not, when you surrender the aspect of the ego personality and the untruth that keeps what you want from manifesting, then what's actually happening is you're surrendering unto the universal law that allows it to become. When we do this, we are not only allowing the universal law to do what it's supposed to do, we're also allowing us and others the same freedom to be who and what they were called to be, to become who and what we were called to be. Thank you so much. Always good to be with you. Namaste.